Welcome to the Stochastic MLB DFS Strategy Show. I'm your host, Neil Orfield. You can find me on Twitter at PlayerQDFS or on X if you prefer. I'm here with Josh Engleman. He was just dancing. I'm sorry that you missed Josh's dancing because it was pretty good to the beat of the 30-second timer. You can find Josh on Twitter at Josh Engleman, and this show is sponsored by Caesars. We got a great deal from Caesars. Check it out. You can see it up there. Bet $50. You're going to get $250 in bonus bets when you sign up for Caesars. So if you have sports betting available in your state, you haven't signed up for Caesars for whatever reason, now is the time to take advantage of that offer. It's not going to get better. They never get better. They usually do get worse pretty rapidly. So now I would recommend taking advantage of it. Now, of course, the legal age for gambling most is 21 plus, or if you were someone who knows gambling problem, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. All right. Josh, how you doing this morning?
Not bad. I have been awake for longer than I would have liked to be, having to do things that required me to be functional. But I got a lot of coffee into my body. I have nothing else in my body yet other than that coffee. So for right now, top of my game. I assume I burn out at like 2 or 3 o'clock, at which point I will grab like a 30-minute nap and then get ready for the deeper dive later today.
I hope you're going to have something to eat before you burn out.
Probably, but we'll see.
Are you not like totally like jittery? Like that's my problem with having coffee with nothing to eat. I just like my whole body gets like jittery and you're good.
No, it's just too many days of my life spent doing this. My body is trained. There's no jitters left.
I suppose. That's awesome.
This has been, let's see. I started mainlining coffee when I was 21. So 17 years worth of just having as much as I could possibly put in my stupid mouth every morning.
Nice. All right. I just read a tweet from our old friend Jesse saying there's a possibility people are underrepresented. People are not considering the fact that Shohei Ohtani could potentially never pitch again. Do you think that Shohei Ohtani ever pitches again in Major League Baseball?
Do I think that he ever pitches again? Yes. Do I think anything we expect of him as a starting pitcher is going to be happening moving forward? No. I think this is essentially the end of it all for him.
Man, it's such a bummer. Like he's been so fun. He's so good. And like I like him. Like he's one of those like baseball players who like actually shows his personality. And I like his personality. It's a shitty situation to see Shohei Ohtani getting hurt.
But it is. When I woke up and saw it on TV, like obviously I knew he went out, but I just thought it was more of the nonsense that he's had over the past whatever it's been as of late. And then I woke up this morning and saw the UCL stuff, and it sucks. It's so annoying. I hate it for him because it's probably going to cost him like 9 figures worth of money. Like let's just say that he was going to get $500 million. Well, if you're not a pitcher anymore, maybe you're only getting 400. Like that's a staggering change.
Yeah.
It's probably more than that too.
I would think.
But no, he's probably done. He's got to be done, right? Like he's already had Tommy John once. Torn UCL. Like maybe it's not that bad of a tear and he could rehab and everything can be whatever. But I think the more interesting question would be like over under, 100 innings in the rest of Ohtani's career. I think that'd be like a pretty snap under at this point.
100 innings pitched.
Yeah. I don't know where you want to set that line, but like setting a line, you have to assume that he tries in some way.
He's going to
either rehabbing it and trying to get back on the mound, and then it never works, or like he does go out, but it's not the same. He'll try again in some form. How that goes, I don't know.
Did you think it was incredibly stupid for the Angels to not trade him at the trade deadline previously? Like before the injury?
If you are under the assumption that you are not bringing him back, then yes. Like the Angels know more than I do. If I don't think that Shohei Ohtani is going to be an Angel next year, if he's told me that, if that's the case, then yes, unequivocally. In baseball, you don't even think twice. Just go get prospects. If he's like, you know what, man, like I might. And I mean, the Angels do throw money around from time to time. So it's not like they don't have that in the coffers.
Right.
If they thought they could re-sign him, then assuming the medicals are all fine, then I think you keep him and try to re-sign him. Just because the amount of money, like his value is so much bigger than just on the field. He's crossing to a different culture that is responsible for an amount of money that like is like we aren't aware of the value that he brings to a team outside of just playing, because it's significant. It's not like basically every other player in the league. He generates revenue in a completely different way.
Yeah, that is a good assessment. And I like that point that like we just don't know what they knew. So like we can from the outside say, yeah, it was stupid, but like if they knew he was willing to resign and they have the money to resign him, he would be a fantastic signing for them, even if he is super expensive, as he likely would be. Like he's worth it for them. So that's a good point. We don't really know whether it's stupid because we don't know whether they're going to be able to resign him. But yeah, that news is a bummer. I'm also you have something to respond to? You're making faces like somebody said something ridiculous.
No. I had a hiccup in my. It's completely unrelated to what we were talking about. I had a hiccup in my script and I couldn't figure out why, and I linked to the wrong names column. So I don't have Cedric Mullins the second. I have just regular. It's that dumb stuff that happens all the time.
Okay, all right, good. So not related to Ohtani. The only other big news that I'm tracking today, which a lot of people watching a baseball show probably don't care about, but this Jonathan Taylor stuff, like every team is now being like linked to him, like, oh, looks like they want Jonathan. It's like, okay, every team wants Jonathan Taylor. I'm really curious to see if anybody is actually willing to pay enough for the Colts to trade him. It's going to, I know you are not a big best ball guy, but for those of us who have been drafting best ball all summer, this could be awesome or it could be really, really shitty, depending on where Jonathan Taylor ends up. So a lot of fun sports stuff to be tracking these days.
I would prefer it to be Jonathan Taylor Thomas. I don't really care about the Indianapolis Colts running
Jonathan
back.
Taylor Thomas, who was on Boy Meets World. What was he on?
He was one of the sons in Home Improvement.
Oh, he was in. Yeah.
He was the middle child in Home Improvement.
That's right. That's right.
Randy and what was the other kid's name?
I don't remember that. I watched that show like any chance I could as a kid too. I watched a lot of Home Improvement, and now I just don't remember it all that well.
Brad,
the kids. Brad,
got it before chat. Brad and Randy. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
And then whatever the third one is.
I have been many times on this show, not outside of the show, but like on the Stochastic channel. People compare me to the neighbor all the time. Is it Al Borland? Is that the neighbor?
No, Al is the co-host on Tool Time. Wilson is the neighbor.
Oh, I think Al is the one that I'm compared. The one with the beard. Yeah, that's Al. Yes. Yeah, you're right. Wilson's the guy you never see his face. That's the neighbor.
Yes. Al Borland is the guy you're looking for, but he's the co-host of
Tool Time. Yeah. I forgot. Yeah. Okay. It's early in the morning. It's been a while since I watched Home Improvement, but yeah, I'm getting there now.
As it should be. I've enjoyed it's not a great show.
No.
But whatever his newer show is, it's basically just like another version of that, but with like a lot of right-leaning political commentary. It's pretty entertaining, oddly enough, for like the channel that it airs on.
I didn't even know that this was a thing. There's like a new
I forget what it's called. He basically is like the manager of what the equivalent of like a Bass Pro Shop is.
Okay.
And it's just like him and his kids, and it's just like that same exact family environment. But like a little bit stronger in the comedy sense, but he's certainly like the writing force of the show because it is very conservative commentary
in line with his politics.
Yeah,
that's funny. Yeah, I
don't care at all. I think it's just funny.
What is the channel that it airs on?
No, any standard like network. It's not like it's not a show that they're like swearing a lot. It's not like an HBO or anything.
Okay,
it's like your standard,
similar to Home Improvement, like the standard,
the modernized version of it all.
Gotcha.
Like his daughter's got like a baby or something, but she's young. Like they don't go like too crazy off the reservation doing stuff, but they add like a little bit of new 2023 type stuff in.
Gotcha. Mateus says that he's got 3 girls instead of 3 boys in this one. Okay, so not just a continuation.
Yeah. There's another good comp.
Ooh, Shane McGowan says use the lineup generator and Josh's Sims predictions yesterday. Placed 3rd in 15,000 solo. Great tool in your predictions as well. Hell yeah, that's awesome to hear. Yeah, how did the solo show go yesterday? I guess you've done it for years, so the exactly
show went better than my
results.
My DFS results did for both slates. So
yeah, I didn't have the worst. I played the Dodgers. Did you play the Dodgers last night? That game?
I did.
I feel like I would have had I had a shot at a good night early on until that game got called, and it was like, okay, that's like every lineup had a couple Dodgers in it. Felt like so.
Yeah.
Ultimately,
I didn't have. I didn't have like too much of the bats on that side, but I like 2x Kershaw, so that stung.
I had both, sadly. Well, we're going to start. So we have two slates potentially to talk about here. We're going to start talking about the main slate because it's early. We're still updating our data for the early slate. The main slate is ready to go, though. So we're going to do things sort of in reverse order. Start with the main slate. Then we'll see what we have to talk about on the early slate. So the main slate is a full 5 games. The early slate, we lost a game. So it's down to 3 games. That's part of our issues. We need to remove the canceled game from the early slate stuff. So Josh and I are going to start by talking about the main slate here, and then depending on what we have for the early slate, we're either going to go game by game or we'll just talk in a broad sense, take questions, etc. That sound good to you, Josh?
Works for me.
All right, then let's jump into it. The main slate again is 5 games. We're going to start with Chicago at Pittsburgh, Justin Steele on the mound for the Cubs, Andre Jackson for the Pirates. What's your level of interest in these pitchers?
I thought that I would have a little bit more interest in Justin Steele. It doesn't seem like I do. Not the best strikeout matchup in the world against Pittsburgh. That's probably helping at least a little bit. We have him projected for 25% ownership right now. And I think that's about right. We have him as a 25% top 2 pitcher. I think that general area works. And the park helps. I mean, he's a lefty. Righty power is played down big time in Pittsburgh. Everything on the surface looks like a good Justin Steele spot. My only real issue is that I like Pablo Lopez a little bit more for $800 more. And I think on paper, I like Merrill Kelly at $700 less, a little bit more just from like an efficiency standpoint. And, the Reds implied total doesn't look all that terrifying. So I think Justin Steele is just getting pinched for me between 2 slightly better options, but that's not, I don't want to like talk anybody out of Steele. I think the ownership is appropriate for him. Andre Jackson, on the other hand, 5,600. We really like him as a value play, but again, there's only 5 games. So every number you look at for basically anybody involved in this slate is inflated. So when you look at Andre Jackson and think 13% top 2 pitcher, 28% value, wow, you should really pay attention to him. He's only 5% owned. To a degree, that's true. I do believe he's under-owned, but you just see naturally bigger numbers. And Andre Jackson in this spot, probably not going extra deep in this game. A 5-run implied total for the Cubs in Pittsburgh. It's not a lot of stuff on paper that looks good for Jackson, but on a 5-gamer, you probably end up paying down a little bit. He's just not my preferred pay down option.
Okay. I'm also seeing spotty showers early in the game here, potentially, which we'll have to keep our eye out for. But like, does that concern you more with pitchers than bats in general? If there are spotty showers, like it seems like that's the kind of thing where it could pop up in the 3rd inning and you lose your pitcher at that point. So something to keep an eye on. Hard to really factor it in this early, but keep an eye on that later in the day. All right, how about the bats in this game?
So I guess we have to start with the Cubs, obviously. They've got the much bigger run total, and they're not the ones facing Justin Steele. They are 2nd in our top stack tool, 8th in value. So not exactly cheap, but ceiling looks great. They're 3rd in ownership, 12% in the aggregate. I actually have the Cubs ranked 1st. I have 25 mans. It's not a big stand. I'm basically neutral to the field. I just don't know how you don't have some of them. You can't really be worried about Jackson, that's for sure. 222x ISO to lefties this season across 240 pitches. Basically the same story against righties. He has been striking people out, but he also walks people too. So those home runs start to look a little bit more interesting. I'll be neutral to the Cubs. I think all of their ownership is spot on. That said, I don't mind getting to the Pirates. Since I'm not getting to as much Justin Steele, I do have 10 5-mans of the Pirates. They're 7% owned in the aggregate. That's 9th overall of the 10 teams. And I do think that is largely appropriate. Brian Hayes is the guy that I have the most. I do think that top of the order for Pittsburgh is a little underrepresented. But ultimately, when I look at this game, the clear best pieces are the Cubs offense and Justin Steele.
Humble people talking about why is King opening for Cole. Humble says, I'm sick of these opening pitchers. It's getting fucking ridiculous. What is the theory behind it? I feel like it makes sense for the teams though, right?
It's an unequivocally good idea for the teams.
Yeah, switching up the looks that the bats are getting, being able to adjust to whichever batters are coming up in terms of like handedness or like whether they can hit, curveballs, that kind of thing. I think it makes a lot of sense for them, but I agree that it's annoying as hell for DFS. It's really hard for us to, plan for these kind of bullpen games. But yeah, definitely makes a lot of sense.
No disagreement on it being a pain in our ass, but yeah, like if you're a team, we got to stop thinking that like whatever they did in 1957 was a good idea, because everything that we've learned is every single facet of sports across the board was living in the Stone Age for the longest time. And now we're just not in that anymore. Math takes over, data takes over, the nerds get a hold of it, and you optimize the team better. You run out a different kind of pitcher to start, and then you bring in a high level starter. It's just a little bit different.
It's almost becoming like running backs to some extent. Like it used to be like teams would just have bell cow running backs, and now we're moving more towards committees. It's like similar. So it's like hard to find the guys you can count on for the volume, but then when you do find them, it's going to be extra valuable. So yeah, it's annoying, but it makes sense from a team standpoint.
The world doesn't sit around waiting for you to learn how to do things better. Like it's just going to happen, and people are going to complain about everything that happens. And I don't mean that negatively to you, Humboldt, just like in general, everybody hates change. Every single time like the news feed changed on Facebook back in the day when I was in college, it's just a sea of everybody bitching. And then, 3 months later, you forget. Oh no, stochastic name change, awful. Why would you want to not be? It doesn't matter anymore. It's just long gone. Like
nobody remembers.
You get past it so quickly, and this is just another one of those things that has to happen.
Yeah, the world changes, we adjust to it. I think the Rays, I give credit to the Rays for starting this revolution, like similar to the A's with the on base stuff. Now the Rays started kind of the influx of the relief pitchers.
It's always going to be the underrepresented teams in sports that make those sorts of changes, because they're the ones that need to find more on the margins. You're not going to, like, the Yankees are never going to be the first team to do that shit, because it's just like, well, no, we're not going to, like, I mean, it's happening now, but like they were just be like, no, we'll just go sign whoever the hell else and just throw money at the problem instead of like having to figure it out. That's why you see Oakland being at the forefront of Moneyball, or Tampa being at the forefront of this reliever opener situation. You're not getting that from the upper echelon of teams, because they don't want to take that risk.
Yeah, they've got a lot more to lose. The small market team is like, you're expected to be bad. You can experiment a little bit more, and you need to experiment a little bit more. So it makes sense. All right. Toronto at Baltimore. Jose Barrios and Kyle Gibson are the pitchers. What's your level of interest in the pitchers?
Oddly light here too. It's going to get really crazy when we get to the end of this one. So Gibson, they're both 8,200, which is very interesting to see. You can directly compare these guys. I have them projected within 0.3 of a fantasy point of each other too. So it's really tight. 19% top two pitcher odds for Barrios, 16 for Kyle Gibson. I have that basically flip-flopped, but the moral of this story is these guys might as well be the same. 12% ownership to Gibson, 20 to Barrios, I do think is mildly interesting. I'd say that if you're just looking at both of them, Gibson is slightly underrepresented compared to Barrios, but these guys should probably be somewhere in the 15 to 20% owned range together. I don't really have too much to quibble about between the two. I had a ton of Toronto yesterday. They got blanked. They were my number one stack.
No.
So for Barrios this year, strikeout rate's been fine, just north of 20%. A little bit of issue with power to lefties and to righties, I guess. 170 on both ways. It just hasn't been actualized to the righties. If you flip that over to the Gibson side, less strikeouts to a degree, 19% K rate to lefties, 21 to righties. Basically the same in terms of power potential. These guys look identical for today. I don't really want to separate too much. I am lighter on both of them than I expected. But in this scenario, like if you like Gibson more than you like Barrios, go for it. They're the same guy.
So to me, you just said that you have their top two pitcher odds reversed, right? So don't you have Gibson a little bit higher at lower ownership?
I do. So I have Gibson. We have him at 16. I have him at 18%. And then for Barrios, it's 19 and 16. Those might as well be the same numbers, but neutral it is enough. Just the flip of the two. And I have their top two values literally flipped. It's 11 and 13, 13 and 11.
Okay. So that would make me lean a little bit more toward Gibson if we are trying to differentiate a little bit, because he's coming in lower owned and you've got him better odds. But it's pretty. It's
neutral. Marginal.
Yeah. How about the bats in this game? Any interest in Toronto or Baltimore?
Same as it usually is for me. I'm over on both teams. I've got 23 5-mans of the Blue Jays, about 15% ownership in the aggregate. So probably about like 1.5 to 1.75 times the field for Toronto. That's just going to happen. And I'm happy about it. I like the park. I'm surprised the run total is as muted as it is. Maybe that'll climb a little bit. Similarly, on the opposite side for Baltimore, I've got 20 stacks. They're 8% in the aggregate. I've got about 13. I'm just taking a slightly bigger stand on the offense in this one overall. We have 9.5% aggregate ownership going to the Blue Jays. That's 5th. The Orioles are slotted in next, 6th. We have the Blue Jays a little bit higher in all of our metrics, though. 5th in top stack at 11%, whereas we have the Orioles 8th at 8%. I'm actually even higher on the Blue Jays because I just look at this team and they have so much power potential. Like, you get Whit Merrifield in the leadoff spot. It's not power, but you get an MPE for 4,500. That's just increased flexibility. Bichette's got power. Belt's got power. Guerrero, Springer, Varsho, Chapman, Jansen, even Kiermaier to a degree. 155 projected ISO against the righty in Gibson. There's so much power that if guys start getting on, one swing of the bat is immediately massive for Toronto. Same story basically on the opposite side. Lots of power for the Orioles. Rutschman, Henderson, Santander, Mountcastle, O'Hearn, Mullins, Hayes, all 170 or higher projected ISOs. Does it happen? I don't know. But I think there's potential for a ton of home runs in this game.
Yeah, definitely feels like there is. I mean, anytime anybody in the AL East meets up, it feels like there's a lot of potential for a lot of home runs. All right, how would you rank the 4 sides of the game?
Shit. I guess I would go Blue Jays, Orioles, Gibson, Barrios. I think Blue Jays bats are probably first, but maybe that's Barrios to you. That's just not for me. I want the bats before the pitchers, and I think you can basically flip-flop either one of those sets either way. Like, if you want Orioles before Blue Jays, no complaints. If you want Gibson over Barrios, go for it. But I do think it's hitting and then pitching.
Okay. Yep. That makes sense. All right. 3rd game on the slate. We've got Texas here in Minnesota. Andrew Heaney on the mound for the Rangers. Pablo Lopez for the Twins. It is hot here. Hot. Tell me about your level of interest in these pitchers.
What's hot?
It is. It's like 100 degrees, I think. By Minnesota standards. Yesterday.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Like, what is hot to you?
Yeah. Oh, so right now it's right this second, it's only 74. Yesterday I was going to take my dog on a walk, and my wife read the weather and it said it feels like 110. It's only a high of 89 today, so not as hot as it was yesterday, I guess.
Oh, okay. But, so it really did feel like 110 yesterday?
According to the weather channel, yes. It was.
So we're talking about the same heat then. Okay,
it got up to like.
That's
97.
how it is for me. Like half of the summer.
Yeah, Minnesota gets hot. Like, it's not like the hottest place in the world, but like, people think of it as just being cold. It's like, it's very cold winters. It gets like hot and muggy in this. It's very, very muggy here in the summers.
Okay, I had no idea.
Yeah,
I had no idea. All right, that's real heat. I thought you were gonna be like, it's 79.
Yeah. We get real heat.
Shorts. Yeah. Okay. Pablo Lopez, Andrew Heaney. That's where we're at. Lopez, 10,600 most expensive pitcher on today's slate. 33% chance of being a top 2 pitcher. I had it at 35, so call it the same number. He is 35% owned. I don't have much else to add there. Pablo Lopez should be in about 3/4 of your lineups, and he looks really good. To me, the best pay-up option that you can get to, I think I might prefer a different value option, and that different value option would be Andrew Heaney. 7,700. 20% chance at top 2 pitcher. 17% at value, but only 20% owned. So while his top pitcher odds are matching, he's a pretty sizable value that I think is getting underrepresented. I have him. I'm a little bit higher on Heaney in general, and that's causing me to get a lot of him. He's my 2nd most exposed pitcher. I've got a pretty big stand above the field. He's not the same Andrew Heaney anymore, and that is one thing that at least slightly concerns me. As I look at strikeout props, I haven't done this yet, so maybe this will paint me in the right direction. Heaney is at 5.5, minus 144 to the under. I have him projected for 5.4, so I think I'm in and around the ballpark. 6.5 is the line for Pablo Lopez, slight juice to the under. I have him at 5.9, so I'm thinking I might be a little lighter on Lopez, but ultimately I'm very happy to get to the pitching here. Do I like Andrew Heaney generally? Scares the hell out of me when he faces a right-handed batter because he gives up big-time power. 193 x ISO to righties. He's still striking out guys a little bit lighter than he had been in the past. Minnesota looks like they're going to be trotting out 8 righties, something in that neighborhood. So that stretch of Luplow, Correa, Royce Lewis, going to be a little problematic. But the Twins lineup that I'm looking at right now doesn't have as many problematic power bats in it as maybe they normally would on a given day. So I think that's a little bit of the reason why I'm getting to more Heaney. And then I don't think there's too much that really needs to be said for Pablo Lopez. Are the Rangers a good team? Yeah, absolutely. But Pablo Lopez is a really talented pitcher. He doesn't really run into problems with either hand. Like power doesn't 138 x ISO to lefties over the past 2 years, 132 to righties. He strikes out like 30+% of righties and 25% of lefties. Everything just looks good for Lopez. He's just an ultra talented pitcher. It's scary because Texas is good, but ultimately this will be the game that I have the most pitching.
Interesting. So even in the hot weather here, yeah, I mean, I guess good enough pitchers to target, so makes some sense here. But yeah, we got and relatively low implied total, so makes sense. With that in mind, so
maybe that changes. Maybe that implied total moves as more people realize that it does get hot in Minnesota.
Yeah, I mean, it's supposed to be good weather for bats today, but
yeah,
still
87 solid at first pitch, basically.
Yeah. Speaking of those bats, so you said Andrew Heaney obviously has some power issues. Are you interested at all in taking some swings at the Twins as well, or the Rangers?
In my mind, I would have had a little bit more Minnesota. We have them 7th in top stack, 7th in ownership. I'm short of that. I have a couple 5-mans, but only about 5% in the aggregate. So I'm under overall on Minnesota bats. But I am getting to that Luplow, Correa, Lewis trio. I'm hoping that those guys actually do show up because I like that against Heaney. But if I have this much Heaney, it's just harder to get to a little bit more Minnesota. On the Texas side, I do have 10 5-mans. We have them 8th out of 10 in ownership at 7%. That's exactly what I have. So I'm basically mirroring the field. I'm not avoiding Semien or Seager, Lowe, Garcia. Like, these guys are ultra talented at the top. So I'm holding hands with the field for all of the relevant batters for Texas. But the bigger stand that I'm taking is just focusing on pitching.
Okay. How would you rank them?
I mean, I have more of Heaney than Lopez, but I think the answer is Lopez, Heaney, Twins bats, Rangers bats.
Oh, I saw NFL breaking news. It is not. There was a trade. Does not involve anybody I care about. Giants get linebacker Isaiah Simmons. The Cardinals get a 2024 7th round pick. So a pretty insignificant trade. I was excited for a second. Are we going to get the big news on Jonathan Taylor? Apparently, they're giving him till Tuesday to find a trade partner, which I'm like, that's seems weird to me to put it on the player. But what do I know?
Is he supposed to get anything real? Like,
they're asking for a 1st round pick. There's no way they're going to get, or I wouldn't think there's any way they're going to get a 1st round pick for Jonathan Taylor. But I'm also like, I'm not that good at understanding the values of like draft picks. Like, I know 1st round picks in the NFL are extremely valuable, but like, I don't really know how to value them versus players. But my understanding is it's pretty unlikely they're going to get a 1st round pick, which is what they're asking for. No idea what they can actually realistically expect. Maybe a 2nd. I don't know. Not really my strength.
I guess.
Yeah. All right.
I feel stupid.
We're through the first 3 games of this 5-gamer. Actually, this would be a good time to remind you that our sponsor today is Caesars. I said it at the top of the show. Take advantage of this deal if you haven't already done so. Bet $50. You're going to get $250 in bonus bets. They're coming $50 at a time, $50 increments over 5 weeks. You need to spend it within the first week that you get it. So it does expire. Each increment of $50 will expire within 1 week. However, you make the bet, you can hold on to the money. The money doesn't expire. So not really an issue. You just have to make sure that you are actually using those bonus bets when you get them. Fantastic deal. Again, you're not just putting in $50, they give you $50. You're putting in $50, you get $50 5 times. You get $250 in bonus bets. Fantastic deal. You got to take advantage of these deals when they're hot. When they come out, that's when they're generally going to be the best deals you're going to get. Of course, the legal age for gambling most is 21 plus. So you or someone you know has a gambling problem, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, 3 games down, 2 more to go here, Josh. We've got Oakland at Chicago. Ken Waldichuk on the mound for the A's. Jesse Schultens for the White Sox. what's your level of interest in the pitchers?
That would be a question that I will answer the moment that I stop getting this spinning rainbow on my computer for dragging a column to a place that I shouldn't have dragged it in the middle of this show.
All right. Well, I'll tell you that the White Sox have a 5.32, and I think it's like an aggregate run totals that they give me in Fantasy Cruncher, but the White Sox have, I believe, the highest implied team total on the entire slate. So I would imagine not a ton of interest in Ken Waldichuk. We'll see. You can answer that question for yourself. And then the A's actually only have a 4.18 implied run total aggregated here against Jesse Scholtens, which surprised me a little bit that it's not a little bit higher going up against Scholtens. But just to give you that framework, those reference points, I assume you're not ready yet. Based on the look.
Oh, I am ready.
Oh, you're ready. Okay. All right.
The face that you are getting from me has to do with what I'm about to talk about.
Okay.
So, remember when I said I assume Pablo Lopez and Andrew Heaney would be the game that I have the most pitching exposure to?
Oh no. Are you playing Ken Waldichuk? All right. Tell me about it.
We'll start with Ken Waldichuk. 5,300 today. 13% chance to be a top 2 pitcher, 30% chance at top 2 value. Now, I have basically the exact same numbers. 13% matches. 32% top 2 value might as well match. He is 8% owned right now. So right away, 5% lower than his top 2 pitcher odds. And we haven't even factored in that he is 5,300. So I think he's pretty underpriced. as much as Ken Waldichuk can be underpriced. Now, he strikes out about 21% of batters. He has given up a 246 x ISO to lefties. That's pretty bad, and it's not all that much better against righties.
My bad. I was trying to click something away. Something popped up, and I tried to click it, and then I click on the. So apologies for the interruption.
You're good. So it's not as if I really just want a ton of Ken Waldichuk, but I do think that 8% is just too low on a 5-game slate. No matter what his sort of talent level is, you only have 10 choices at pitcher. You're bound to get to somebody, and just the raw data doesn't agree with 8% ownership. So I have 22% Ken Waldichuk right now. If his ownership went up to like 12, I'd probably have like 15, and this would become a totally moot point.
Yeah. Subash says dance party. Yeah, Josh actually immediately broke into dance. Like he it's just quick. He hears music, he just starts dancing. You guys never can see it because we've always got it blocked off when that music is going on. But yeah, absolutely, dance party for sure. All right. So what about Jesse Scholtens? So you definitely have interest in Ken Waldichuk. Did you already give?
I have more interest in Ken Waldichuk than I ever expected to have, but I have even more interest in Jesse Scholtens than I ever expected to have. Now, the obvious piece of why this is more interesting is because Oakland is on the opposite side, and they suck, and they project with big-time strikeout rates. They're 2-3-4 in their current lineup right now, based on Steamer, project with a 32% K rate, a 32% K rate, and a 33% K rate. That doesn't even talk about Seth Brown at 27, Langoliers at 29, or Lawrence Butler at 26. There are a lot of potential strikeouts out there for you to try to capitalize on if you want to use whatever a Jesse Scholtens is. Now, by the way, his strikeout prop is set at 4.5. I haven't projected for 4.4. Minus 142 to the over. So I might even be light on what I think Jesse Scholtens should be. 15% chance of top 2 pitcher. That is slightly higher than Ken Waldichuk. 38% chance of being a top 2 value. That is also higher than Waldichuk because he's only 5K. Scholtens has the better matchup. We have him at 19% ownership. So that is more representative than what we're seeing for Ken Waldichuk. This dude is apparently my linchpin to everything because I have him essentially everywhere. 60+% of Jesse Scholtens. Do I advocate for that? Absolutely not. I think you could probably get somewhere a little bit over the, if he's 19, maybe something in the mid 30s is a little bit more realistic for most, but that's not how I'm approaching this. I just want you guys to understand it. I, right now, at this moment, have Jesse Scholtens projected ahead of Jose Barrios and Kyle Gibson. That is why all of this is happening.
His projection? Like, it's just like points projection you have higher than those guys?
I do indeed.
I want to look at the stochastic stuff because that strikes me as being nuts, but I want to see how far off our projections are from you, because maybe it's not. Let's see.
He's going to throw around 5 innings today, and I think that strikeout prop is really interesting.
So we've got him 1.5 worse than Barrios. You said Barrios, and who else did you say? Kyle Gibson?
Yeah.
So we have him right behind Kyle Gibson. We have him at Jesse Schulten's at 12.4, Gibson at 12.7. So those ones are fairly close.
Yeah.
So that one.
Gibson and Barrios, strikeout prop, both at 4.5, exactly like Schulten's. Both juiced to the over a bit, exactly like Schulten's. But both of those guys are 8,200. He's 5K. Like, even if you want to say they're a little bit ahead of him, you're not making up $3,200 worth of a little bit ahead of him. So I think he's pretty sneaky. Especially if he's just only going to be 19% owned, because if you're even willing to be comparable to the guys in the mid tier in salary, then they're not close. He's just that much of a better play from a value perspective. Scary for sure. But that's what happens when you get to face Oakland and you don't have to face the Orioles or the Blue Jays. We're talking about very different offenses here.
And you already alluded to the top pitcher stool. Like, I thought you were nuts when you said you were getting to a lot of these guys, but I look at the top pitcher stool, like, it's in line with what our tools are telling you to do. So yeah, I guess I can't really argue too much. But you say you have like 69% of Jesse Schulten's. Do you think that that's actually going to hold? If it does, like, if you run your sims tonight and you have a nice 69% of Jesse Schulten's, will you keep that, do you think? Or do you think you would do anything to adjust?
I wouldn't touch it at all. Whatever shows up, shows up.
I think you said that on a previous show. You just run your top 150. Like, would that be the case if you get 100% of somebody like Jesse Schulten's? You would just run it.
I would. Well, first, in that scenario, the first thing that I would do is make sure that I didn't have an error somewhere, because that would stand out. Like, 100% of Jake DeGrom on some random slate, then I would assume it's just right. For Schulten's, I would make sure that I didn't have an error. And the moment that I confirm that, I'd let it go. I don't care.
So Josh and I had this conversation on a evening live before lock, I believe, about whether you just run the top 150. And I think that it makes sense from a long-term EV perspective. I've also talked to some pros who say that, like, they will do stuff to even out the ownership a little, like to spread it out a little bit to mitigate the risk. It's largely a matter of risk tolerance. But like the concern with, if you're playing 100% of guys like Jesse Schulten's, or even 70% of guys like Jesse Schulten's, is if things go wrong, you can obviously lose a ton of bankroll really quickly. You're obviously in a spot right now where you've got a pretty good bankroll. You've won a lot recently. So I know that I myself, like, during hot stretches, I definitely push it a lot more than, like, right now. I'm like, I feel like I haven't done so hot recently. I'm more likely to mitigate it and spread things out. So maybe you're more willing to take on some of those, like, ballsier calls when you have been doing well, because like those are the times to push it. But it's an interesting conversation, I think, about sims. Like, do you just want to run your top 150 in terms of EV, or do you want to spread it out a little bit for the sake of your long-term portfolio bankroll management?
So two things for that. One, I don't just run my straight 150. I do very minimally. It's like 90% top lineup stuff, 10% a little bit of ownership leverage type stuff. Because the way that I look at it is this: let's say you run a sim and you have the player pool matching perfectly, and maybe not perfectly, but you sim 15,000 lineups out, and you then rank them 1 to 15,000 in order of like how frequently they're first, whatever metric that is. In theory, there's no real difference between the 150th lineup and the 151st lineup in that sort. But the 150th lineup may be chalk, clean across the board, and 151 might just have that little tweak in it. They both get to the same place in general. I try to handle that so that anything at the bottom of that 150 that is aggressively owned just sort of sifts down a little bit, and everything that has a little bit more like flexibility rises a little bit. So like my number one lineup could never just fall out of the top 150 after that scenario. But if 147 is just ultra chalky and showed up there, I'd rather get a little bit different and raise that up a bit. Now, for hitting, this is the part two. For hitting, if I end up having an aggressive stand on one particular stack, I will adjust that and take a little bit of away from them. So like if I have 55 mans after I run my crunch on a normal like 10 game slate, I might change the weight on that team from like 100% to 99%, and it turns 50 into 41 and just redistributes the other one somewhere else. So I don't necessarily want that stand from hitting. I don't mind it for pitching.
Okay. Yep. That makes sense. So you're willing to, it's similar like we talk about all the time. You're willing to eat more chalk at pitcher than you are among your bats. Yeah, that makes sense because it's one player versus 5 players. Like taking a huge stand. Like if you take a huge stand on a pitcher and that pitcher doesn't work out, it hurts you. Obviously, you're probably not going to get first place. It's going to hurt your chances of getting first. But like you can still min cash with a pitcher that does nothing, or like a pitcher puts up 2 fantasy points. Whereas if your stack 5-man stack puts up 0 points, like you're just not going to cash it all that day. So that makes sense.
Yeah, like if you had Ohtani yesterday, well, so did half of the field. So like you can still get there with the garbage score potentially. He might have been in the winning lineup yesterday. I'm not entirely sure, but he was trending that way when I looked earlier. But like the principle just still stands. I don't mind holding on to a very highly owned pitcher when it's whatever the hell this guy said, Jesse Scholtens. Like, does it give me pause? Yeah, I mean, all things Jesse in DFS are terrible, so I assume it's going to go poorly. But yeah, I hope that gets heard.
Yeah. Neil rode cow pits till week 5 last year in NFL because the stats. I don't even remember if that's true, to be honest. I can't recall what I did last year in the NFL season at all. But if that's true, it probably made sense.
It does make sense. But 720 Red Dog wouldn't understand quality information.
All right. How about the bats in this Oakland-Chicago game? I know you're playing a lot of the pitchers. Any interest in the bats also?
Obviously, a little bit less than what you would expect. But that's where it starts to get really interesting. Because while I just talked about these pitchers, we have the White Sox first in top stack, first in top value, first in ownership, first in stack score. I don't have them first in top stack. I have them 4th. But the separation at the top is basically the same. I have the Cubs first, but I have the Blue Jays at 12.9%, the Diamondbacks at 12.3%, and the White Sox at 12.2%. Those are all basically the same. That could shift a little bit, and all of a sudden they're second again, but I don't have them first. They're heavily owned. 17% in the aggregate. I'm just not getting there. Like a 5... Should I? Probably. Ken Waldichuk's terrifying. And I'll have a little bit of the White Sox. But maybe this is just the way that my process works. I'm just not getting all the way to the top for this chalky team. I'm a little bit lighter. I'm a lot a bit lighter on the White Sox. And then a lot a bit lighter on the A's. 4th in top stack, 2nd in top value. The Oakland A's right now, we have 2nd in aggregate ownership. I assume that changes. There's no part of their script other than this park that would make this make sense to me. That they're 2nd in ownership. I guess, they're cheap, I guess, but they're terrible.
Yeah.
They're terrible. They shouldn't be 2nd. I don't think they should be getting that much ownership. I'm happy to be light on Oakland right now. Is there a power core there with Noda and Rooker, Brown? Yeah. Can that play up here against the White Sox and Scholtens? Yeah, for sure. Those things can happen. He does give up power to righties. He doesn't strike out a lot of guys. If this is the game that's pulling 30+% of ownership of the 5, I just naturally want to be lighter here.
Yeah, and that's what we have projected right now, over 31% ownership going to the bats in this White Sox A's game. Yeah, it makes sense. You would want to be later. Makes sense to me. How would you rank the 4 sides? I guess it's kind of a hard one to rank, right? Because it's like, well, obviously, like the bats look great, but like for a large field GPP, how would you rank them?
The White Sox have to be first. I don't have any disagreement at all with how they're being evaluated here. They're at home. This park works. The matchup against Waldichuk is fantastic. I have no real disagreements with their overall ranking. They are number 1 in my stack score along with ours. I just don't have them in 150 in the same way. Completely different scenario. White Sox are 1. I think Scholtens is 2, and then the A's are 3, and then Waldichuk is 4. I think 20% ownership for Scholtens might go up towards the end of the day. And I don't think that what we have in here for Oakland is going to maintain in the same way as we get closer to lock. I don't think they're going to be 14.5% owned in the aggregate.
Okay. Spencer Smith says, Neil, can you grow dreadlocks, please? No, I cannot. Like I just literally can't. I don't have the hair for it. I couldn't grow dreadlocks. Like I could grow like
maybe beard locks.
I don't have a beard. Oh yeah, I could do it on my beard for sure. Yeah, I thought you were saying my chest hair. I'm like, I'm not as hairy as people would expect me to be. The rest of my body, like I'm like regular hairy, not as hairy as like you look at my beard. You think I'm going to be super hairy, but yeah, I could do beard dreads, I suppose.
Hair is really weird. Like it's weird to think that the top of your head gave up, but the bottom of your head was like,
yeah,
we're taking it all
down
man.
Here instead. Doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah,
it's bizarre.
They moved to the burbs, I guess.
It's just like move. Yeah. I don't know what my hair was thinking, but I guess I'll accept it. I've accepted that my hair wants to be on my chin instead of on my crown. I'm okay.
Here's the question for you, because I don't know the answer to this. I cannot relate. Would you rather have it as it's currently constituted, or would you rather flip it?
I'd flip it for sure. I would rather.
You would take the hair and no beard?
Yeah, hair on top of my head. Oh yeah.
See, maybe that's just a thing. Maybe that's just a natural answer when you are no longer
when you're bald. You're like, I just want what I can't have. Yeah.
Because I love my hair. However, the times that I shaved my head in college were some of my happiest times because it's just so much better in the shower. And the entire process of like getting ready or like worrying about, you don't do anything. It just exists always perfectly. That part I do love.
It's also a better look though when you, I mean, I guess if it's fully shaved, like shaved bald, it doesn't matter. But like if you have any hair on the top of your head, it looks way better if you like have hair, it's just shaved short as opposed to being bald, where it's like kind of like, choppy all over the place. Like, there's chunks here. And I don't know, it doesn't look as good when it is when you are bald. So
yeah, I'd be going once a week. If I were bald, I'd be going once a week for the full cleanup.
I got
a terrible head. Do you really?
Yeah. Okay. I shave my own hair. I also don't go completely bald, even though like I know it would look, I mean, it would maybe look better. I just do the use the clippers, go down flat on the clippers, but I don't like do the actual razor shave.
The beard is well kept. I think you're missing out on like the barber experience. Clean up, shave, hot towel on the head.
Oh, do they do that? So I used to go to a salon.
I assume.
Like I enjoy they would like give me a little back massage and like, it's kind of a nice experience. I just assume barbers, like the barbers that I've been to they don't really give you that full experience. It's just like, just a cut. I don't know.
So when I lost the mustache bet to Laffy, I booked a place here and went and got their like full package for it. So it was like multiple steam towels to the beard, multiple like lotions and stuff to shave it all down. Just like a full pampering treatment. I assume they would do the same thing for like shaving a head and cleaning up a beard.
Probably the right barber. I've also never had my beard professionally shaved, which I know is a thing. They like shape it. I just do my own beard also. I've never tried to have them shape my beard in any kind of way. Maybe if it gets long enough, I'll try and have them do something. I don't know.
Take the shot.
Yeah, I'll take the shot. Real quickly, just because we haven't had this conversation, that Greg asked for a bidet for his birthday. Are you a fan? Have you ever experienced a bidet? Are you a fan of bidets?
I have not experienced it.
Okay.
I have been circling the drain, so to speak, on them for years now. They are bookmarked. They are ready to go. I don't know why I haven't pulled the trigger. I am, as best I can tell, 1,000,000% team bidet.
So you've never tried it, but you're close to buying one.
I've never tried it, not because I don't want to or got nervous. It has never been in a situation where I could have.
Okay.
I've never been afforded the opportunity. I have never turned it down to my knowledge.
I'm fairly sure I have tried it when I traveled through Europe. Like there are more bidets all over the place. I've tried it. I don't remember it being a particular life-changing experience for me, but maybe I should try. I don't know. Greg swears by it, so we'll have to find out if Greg got a bidet. But yeah, if you haven't tried it, I guess there's not much to talk about since you haven't tried it. You don't really know. But you are fully on team bidet. Okay.
Yeah. So Laffy and I had this conversation on a show before. He bought one, and last I remember, has still just been too lazy to install it.
I mean, yeah, it feels like something that I would just hire somebody else to install for me. I don't want to deal with plumbing myself, like, because if that goes wrong, not as bad as like electric, but like feels like it could go really wrong if you screw up plumbing too. I guess you're turning off.
Most I think only take like 5 minutes to install. You unhook one
really?
water, like turn off the line, like turn off the water at the toilet.
Yep.
done. Unhook the line that's currently hooked up, swap out the seats, hook that line back up so that it goes back in. Some are a little bit more like some heat water and things like that. So there's a little bit more to it, but a generally basic one that doesn't have hot water in it, I think is like a 5 to 10 minute install if you have the tools, which are like, screwdrivers and shit.
Well, then that is funny that Laffy has it and is still just not installing it.
Okay. Friend of the program, Peter Viles. I have smart toilets with bidets. Never going back. Feel like an animal at hotels with no bidet. Smart toilets. How smart?
They must be pretty smart. Peter Viles, he can afford that because he wins $25,000 a day in DFS, like every single day. It feels like.
Yes.
Just played tennis for the first time this week. Immediately wins a tennis.
In particular.
Like, what is wrong with you? So once you're Peter Viles level, how rich? I mean, just
like what else is smart other than the bidet piece? Does it like suck the poo out of you, or what additional feature? They open the lid as you approach. Runs a fan, has lights. Jesus, who makes it? Does Apple make it?
This is when you know you have too much money. The things that Peter spends his money on. It does sound kind of cool, though. It does sound cool.
I'm that might be something that Josh is spending some money on in the near future.
You'll have to let us know. Let us know how much it costs. Tell us all about your new toilet once you get it. All right.
Wow. Oh my God. Okay.
Josh is so excited about this new toilet that he's going to get.
Okay, that feels excessive. I feel like you can just get by with like the higher end bidet seat.
What's the price?
20. All right. Now, obviously, this is going to be covered in ads and things, so I don't know what money they take. Good Housekeeping listed the best overall smart toilet, $2,500 at Home Depot. Let's see.
If that's
dual
the
nozzles,
most expensive.
So it sprays separate front and back cleansing. I didn't know it would do that. I guess that's not for us as much.
Sure.
Self-cleaning nozzles, don't care. Warm air dryer, heated seat, auto open close seat and lid. Yeah, okay.
Wow. All right.
Calming nightlight, automatic seat. That's wild.
I think we should have a party at Aha Bro's house. We should all test out his toilet, see if it's worth. Peter, let us know what you think of us all coming to your house. We're going to test out your bidet. I mean, that's not what the party's going to be for. Like, it's not going to be a bidet testing party, but it'll be like a regular party where we all, when the time comes, we'll test out the bidet. Let us know what you think of this plan, Peter. Remote control as big as a VHS tape, he says. Okay.
I think probably taking the step down there, going to one in like the $1,000 to $1,500 range.
Significantly cheaper, but still really nice.
I mean, it's not like you're going to use it like a normal person let's just say once a day for the next decade. I mean, you're going to get the value out of it pretty quickly.
Yeah. It seems like a good value if that's
poops, beds. There's some things that you should just always spend the money on.
100%. Like a new mattress, you got to buy the best. You got to buy whatever is the most comfortable to you, because that's extremely important for your well-being.
We spent a preposterous amount of money on our first bed right after we got married, and like we went to the bar afterwards to have some drinks because we were just like, what the hell did we just do? And now 9 years later, wouldn't think twice, and we would do it again immediately whenever.
You still have the same bed?
Yeah.
I mean, we do too, from the first bed that we bought, but I don't even know how long mattresses typically last.
But I used to know.
Seems
probably
reasonable.
better, probably longer now than they used to, I'm guessing.
Oh, for sure.
We got like the top of the line sleep number right after we got married.
Oh, you got the sleep number. Okay. Yeah, we did not
separate
do that.
mattresses that both move the full way, so they're both like double hospital beds.
Ooh.
That
sounds nice. Great. We didn't go. I forget why
we made some mistakes in that purchase, but I love the bed. Like sleeping on it, I love it. I wouldn't get the 2 full splits again. That was
we talked about doing the splits, and we decided not to. Maybe because of the weird dynamic. I can't remember exactly the reasoning, but we ultimately decided to just go with a regular bed.
They make one that is half split. The top will move around, but the feet are the same, and I think that's the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
Because it won't create like a giant separation in the bed from time to time. And every once in a while, we are just two twin longs pushed together, full longs pushed together. So it feels weirder.
Hopefully in 10 years, when I have to buy a new bed, there will be it's going to be like a whole different world in terms of what you can get in terms of bed. So I won't worry about it just yet. All right.
I killed enough time to not really care about the early slate.
Oh, yeah. Right on. We do have one game left on the main slate. Cincinnati at Arizona. Merrill Kelly and Brandon Williamson are the pitchers. What is your level of interest in these pitchers?
So for right now, oh my, is that real? Do I need to refresh this? I'm going to refresh my sheet once. I have a comically low amount of Merrill Kelly right now, and I want to make sure that's not like an error. Because
you got to play your Jesse Schultons.
Well, that exactly. Why play Merrill Kelly when you can play Ken Waldichuk?
Exactly. They're the same guy.
Might as well be. I always say, if you can get a Merrill Kelly, you can get a Waldichuk. No, nothing has ever gone wrong in that scenario, ever. Yeah, I did say F the early slate. There's only 3 games. No one should ever care about a 3-game MLB slate in the middle of the day.
I prefer shorter slates, but
you like 3?
I do like 3. Yeah, I feel like it's. I don't know that I've actually had success with them. I've just I've come really close. Like frequently, I feel like I'm in the running in the short slates.
Okay, I don't. Ooh, whatever I did has dramatically changed the game a bit.
Okay,
good. So hopefully it's not too dramatic, and I can still.
We just found out that Josh is actually playing 5% Jesse Schultons, 80% Merrill Kelly.
My hitting exposure changed a bit, but my pitching exposure did not. And this is why it's happening. I don't know. We'll dig into the extremes of all of this, but Merrill Kelly, 9,100, 31% top 2 pitcher odds, 16% top value. I'm basically in agreement. I'm actually slightly higher, 34% top 2 pitcher. We have him 49% owned. That is the highest on the slate by a mile. 14 percentage points ahead of Pablo Lopez here against Cincinnati. Now, good spot against the Reds. As a whole, they're not very good right now as a team with just like a shit ton of young talent. So your mileage may vary there. As we look at Merrill Kelly, at least for this year, 160 x ISO to lefties, striking out 25% of them. 150 to righties, striking out 25% of them. He's striking guys out a little bit more frequently now. Maybe that's why I don't get as much Merrill Kelly, just because projection systems don't update that quickly.
Sure.
As I look at the props, Merrill Kelly, 6.5% or 6.5 strikeout prop, -122 to the over. I got him at 5.6. I'm like a full strikeout shy. I'm going to dig in a little bit further on Merrill Kelly because I think that's what's causing me to not have him today. And I basically don't have him. I am getting to the Reds bats against Merrill Kelly.
Interesting. Any Brandon Williamson?
No. 8% owned. Is he under-owned? Yes. And on these types of slates, you're going to see that. He's 8% owned. He's 15% top 2 pitcher. I don't agree with that. I have it at 8. But even at 8 and 17% top 2 value, he should be like 10 to 15% owned.
Sure.
And we have him at 8. So if you're looking at our data, he's wildly under-owned. If you're looking at mine, he should be like 10% owned. I think I probably lean a little bit closer to me than to ours, but somewhere in that 10 to 15 range isn't crazy. Don't listen to me on Merrill Kelly overall. He's probably the first guy you're putting into a cash lineup. I may have more by the time the day starts to end, but for right now, I'm light.
Okay. You say you're getting to the Reds. Tell me about your bat interest in this game.
Yeah, I think it's just a leverage thing, a situation where there's so much ownership coming into Merrill Kelly, and I think that I'm more likely to win a contest if I'm on the opposite end of that one. So it's a situation where they're expensive. They are 9th in top value, and I think that's the real key piece. No one's really getting to the Reds because of their price tags. They are expensive for their matchup. So I'm looking at them as a double pay up to be contrarian option. They're contrarian on their own, and then you get the benefit of being on the opposite side of 50% of Merrill Kelly. So they are a large field GPP play today for sure. Not a team you want to really concentrate on in smaller field stuff. But like if the highest owned guy for the Reds is going to be 7%, I'm going to have a little bit more than that. I think they are under-owned even before factoring in anything else.
Okay. Yeah. Nice leverage spot, as you said. How would you rank the 4 sides of the game?
I'm also neutral on the Diamondbacks. I guess I should put that out there. They're third in top stack. They're fourth in ownership. They're 11% owned. They are 11.6% top stack, 11% top value, 11% ownership, 11% stack score. They're just 11 straight. They're what's that girl's name? Who's 11? Millie Bobby Brown. They're Millie Bobby Brown today.
Nice.
It's a terrible joke. So I like Arizona here against Williamson. To me, very clearly a team that you should get to, other than the fact that the park limits power. If I'm ranking this game, it's Merrill Kelly 1, it's Diamondbacks 2, it's Reds offense 3, it's Brandon Williamson 4.
Yeah, as the dude shop says, they are priced like they are the Braves, and they're not. Yeah, the Braves, and they're in a bad matchup. So it's kind of strange. Steven says you can get the stochastic smart toilet that has lineup generator built in, so you can have productive time. Yeah, that's available now. The Sims toilet is going to be available by 2030. That's our goal for the Sims toilet. All right. We made it to the end of the slate, Josh. So here, just we'll do 3 favorite pitchers, 3 favorite stacks from the main slate, and then we'll do a home run pick. Starting with the pitchers, who are your 3 favorite pitchers on this slate?
Pablo Lopez, Andrew Heaney, and Jesse Schultens.
All right, Jesse Schultens included in the top 3. You got to play lock in Jesse Schultens today. 3 favorite stacks.
The Reds, the Orioles, and the Blue Jays.
Home run pick.
Oh, shit. Okay. Let's get to it. Who did I have yesterday? I didn't make one yesterday. I don't remember who I had 2 days ago. All right. Where is it? Game, home run, filter. Top 10. I should just make a table for this so that I can get to it quicker, but I never look at it. So, all right. Ooh, okay. Weird names when you only have a 5-game slate and some of these teams suck. I can't do this, can I? No, screw it. Yeah. I don't want to do this to myself because I'm taking Schultens, but I'm going Seth Brown.
Seth Brown second in the stochastic home run model with a 27% chance of hitting a home run. Our top, who's going to be my pick, Brent Rooker, also going up against Jesse Schultens, has a 27%
in my top 10. Run. I almost went to like Lubob or Eloy against Waldichuk. That felt like it would have made a little bit more sense. You know what's really... Here's the most ridiculous thing. This is what today's slate looks like. I have Evan Longoria in my top 10. That's today.
Nice. That'll work out well for you for sure. Jason and Chloe Swing. First of all, I love the name, the man and the woman, like the husband and wife, I assume, in the same name. It reminds me of like EMAC. Like I think anybody who's a boomer, like I think EMAC's email address is Eric and Mary 1952 at hotmail.com, something like that.
More like 1852
at hotmail.com. It is something ridiculous. Like he had to give his email address for a fantasy football league, and I was like, that is a boomer email address. I don't remember what, or AOL.com would be. That's even more boomer. That's like my parents have the AOL names. But Jason and Chloe say, Josh, loved your suggestion to DK Assist to get your own ownership percentages next to the field ownership percentage. Yeah, absolutely. Love that idea. I have no idea why they don't do that. Would just make things a better experience for everybody.
Everyone would want it. There's not a single person out there that would be like, you want to tell me who I have? Like, no one's going to respond like that. They have the data. On a different tab, you can see how many lineups you have those players in. They have the ability to tell you how owned these guys are. This is one field of data. There's no chance in hell that it's a problematic calculation. And there's plenty of screen real estate on the screen, on that screen alone, to immediately just slot that in like it's nothing. So what are we doing here?
Yeah.
Just do it. Just do it. It's driving me crazy. I hate sweating games in the damn app. It sucks. Make it better so we stay in your app. Why wouldn't you want to do that?
Well, you're the first person to have that scene. Now that they have the idea, they're like, oh, now they're absolutely going to do it. Nobody suggested it to them before. All right. So you said before we've talked long enough to not have to worry about the early slate, and then people in the chat were like, wait, no, I'm here for the early slate. Why are you not going to talk about it? I think Josh was just saying he doesn't have to worry about not having the data for the early slate. Are you able to talk briefly about this 3-game early slate?
I mean, I'll say some things. You shouldn't listen to them.
All right. Let's say some things about this early slate, because we do have some people here specifically for, and it's just 3 games, so relatively easy to get to the early slate. I'm not going to do the lineup generator, like go through, show you the lineups, because I'm going to be doing a VOD later on, guys, on the lineup generator. But it is a fantastic deal. If you have not yet signed up for the lineup generator, I do recommend, even though we're not going to go over it right here on the screen, go to my Twitter later. I'm going to be posting a VOD about the lineup generator if you actually want to see the lineups being generated. It is a fantastic deal. If you use the link in the description of this video, you'll get your first week for 50% off, just $4.48 for that first week. And again, every single lineup you get is going to be a long-term profitable lineup. So check it out. But we want to continue on, get through this early slate. Also, it's going to lock in 2 hours. We still have time. But we're missing one of these games, the Dodgers game, no longer part of the early slate. So it's just a 3-gamer. And the first game that we have to talk about here is Washington at New York. Patrick Corbin on the mound for the Nationals. Michael King for the Yankees. What's your level of interest in the pitchers?
Pulling up the top pitchers tool right now. So it's not Brito though, right? Or
it is, according to what I'm seeing in Fantasy Cruncher.
Or King. It's neither, but is it? Hold on.
King opening for Cole is what somebody was saying before. I have no idea if that's true. Let's see.
All right. Well, I'm seeing King for Brito.
Okay. That would make more sense.
We have Brito.
Okay.
Trying to find out if something has been said otherwise for this.
Me also. Yeah, we have King starting.
I don't see anything else. Fangraph says Brito. So I'm guessing it's not Cole, and anybody that was saying that isn't correct.
Yeah, I'm. If anybody has any confirmation on what's going on, DK. Okay, Steven. Yeah, Steven sees the same thing you do. DK has Burrito. Let's work under the assumption for now that it's going to be King followed by Burrito.
Yeah, I mean, look, I know that they haven't done it, but we don't have to think about like why a team would have an opener for Garrett Cole. We kind of did this at the beginning of the show, right. But like, it doesn't matter. I would want to run a lefty opener out in a start where I'm going to bring Garrett Cole in next. That's just me.
Right.
So as we're looking at it right now, Brito is 36% top 2 pitcher. He's 7,300, 50% owned. That is a big number. Meanwhile, Corbin is 6K, 28% top 2 pitcher, 16% owned. I mean, right away, just looking at it, doesn't it feel like you should get to more Patrick Corbin and less of Brito?
I mean, do you ever want to get to more Patrick Corbin? I don't know about that.
I mean, with the garbage that I'm playing today, it is on brand.
Yeah, sounds like you would love to play your Patrick Corbin. All right, well, what about the bats here?
So this is why this slate is rough. Top 4 teams in our top stack tool. 21% Tampa, 20% New York, 19.5 to Boston, 17 to Houston. All 4 of those numbers are the same number. Like when the range for those 4 teams is 17 to 21, they are all within the error bars of, if you want to tell me that Houston is first, they're first. So the only team that's pulling an aggressive amount of ownership is the Yanks here against Corbin. We just got done advocating for maybe Corbin is a little underrepresented and Brito is a little overrepresented. So as I look at this now, I'd probably be a little bit more interested in Nats bats and a little bit less interested in the Yankees bats. The Yankees seem like probably the most over-owned stack on the early.
Yeah. Although Aaron Judge is going to hit another 3 homers today.
Ridiculous. I thought it was ridiculous when he hit the second one.
Yeah. Somebody said that one of them was a cheap homer. I didn't actually watch it. I have no idea if that was a reasonable take. All right. How would you rank the 4 sides of the game?
Brito, Yankees, Corbin, Nats, I guess.
We're at 66.6 points on FanDuel for Judge. That is insane. I've definitely had full lineups that have scored fewer than that. So, yeah, quite the game. All right. Second game on the early slate, Colorado at Tampa. Peter Lambert and Sean Armstrong are the pitchers. Are you playing either of these pitchers?
So, wait. Oh, God, what is going on in this slate? We're on Rockies Rays. Got it.
Yeah. We have I'm seeing Erasmo Ramirez. So Armstrong must be the opener.
I guess this is getting old. No, I mean I'm
seeing
right. Erasmo Ramirez on Fangraphs too.
Okay.
But either way, let's just say it's Erasmo Ramirez.
Yep.
So for Lambert, 34% top 2 pitcher, 49% top 2 value, only 21% owned. It's clearly a scary spot against the Tampa Bay Rays. Good bats, but Lambert feels a lot like Pat Corbin in just being wildly underrepresented for a 3-game slate. Whereas Erasmo Ramirez is 22% top 2 pitcher, 22% ownership. I think he's properly owned.
Okay. What is your level of interest in the bats?
Rays are the number 1 stack in the top stack tool. I think that makes a lot of sense. Peter Lambert sucks. They're not pulling like an amount of ownership that is overly aggressive. So I still definitely want, like, if Lambert is going to be in half of lineups or in 20% of lineups, you do kind of want to get a little bit more because of his ownership. But in the grand scheme of things, I think Rays bats look a lot better than Peter Lambert.
Are you, so this is a 3-game slate now. Are you going to allow for any bats against your pitchers?
Yes, I'll do 1.
Okay. And are you doing anything differently with your stacking on a 3-game slate versus a larger slate?
Not necessarily. If it's still 5-mans, then that's great. I don't open it up to like 3s and stuff.
Okay. Yeah. Occasionally there will be slates like a 3-man where maybe I'll open it up to at least 4-mans, or like occasionally I'll do like 3 3s, but it's pretty rare.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll shorten my stacks just a little bit on a slate like this, just because I think it's more likely that there will be no teams that are able to cover 5 good bats. But all right. Final game. Wait, did you rank the 4 sides? Forget.
Rays bats for sure 1. Probably Lambert, Rockies bats, Ramirez.
Okay. And then final game of this early slate, Boston at Houston. Brian Bayo on the mound for the Red Sox. JP France for the Astros. What's your level of interest in the pitchers?
I mean, these are the top 2 guys in our top 2 pitcher tool. France is at 43%. He's 53% owned. Maybe a little over-owned, but I think definitely on paper the best option for today. Bayo, not too far behind. He's properly owned, 36% top 2 pitcher, 36% ownership. I think these are the 2 guys that you like feel the best about. They're also the 2, like, just thinking about it in your head, they're the 2 best guys on the slate.
Sure. Okay. What about bets?
So they both look pretty equal in the top stacks tool. 19% to Boston, 17% to Houston. It is interesting to see Boston be ahead with JP France being first. I think that's an interesting dynamic. We have Boston as the second most under-owned stack. So in the grand scheme of things, I guess I prefer Boston to Houston just because of the leverage you can get.
Okay. How would you rank the 4 sides?
France, Boston, Bayo, Houston.
Al says Cole is on Baseball Monster. Armstrong is starting Percivant. I'm not even familiar with Baseball Monster. Is that like the basketball monster, the MLB equivalent? Interesting. And Michael Dolan says hit the like button. I agree with that. Please do hit. I always forget to ask people. Please do hit that like button. Helps us out quite a bit. And yeah, we're below 100 likes. Would help us if we can get over that 100 mark. All right, we made it through the end of this slate now, Josh. Doing the same thing that we did earlier. 3 favorite stacks, 3 favorite pitchers, and a home run pick. I know, a little bit harder on a 3-game slate. We don't have that many choices, but starting with pitchers, who are your 3 favorite pitchers on this slate?
3 favorite pitchers. Let's go Brian Bayo, Lambert, Corbin.
3 favorite stacks.
Tampa, Boston, Colorado.
Home run pick.
I don't even fucking know who plays. Aaron Judge.
Love it. He was my pick yesterday. I mean, the fact that you took him means I'm not going to take him today, but I think I get credit for 3. That's 3 correct calls because he hit 3 home runs. When your home run pick is 3, right?
We counted it like that back in the day when we were tracking it. If you hit a double dong, like it counted as 2. Yeah.
Ooh. Yeah, you guys used to track it. I forgot that you actually had a spreadsheet, didn't you?
We did.
Yeah, we don't do that anymore. I'm gonna go with Kyle Tucker. Kyle Tucker seems to be a decent bet there as well.
I like it.
All right, we made it through the end of the show. Hopefully that answered everybody's questions. We got through the early slate a little bit here for you. Yeah, no cost, as Steven says. Josh, any final words?
No, I'm back for the. I'm not back for the deeper dive. I'm back for live before lock later tonight. I think. Is that right?
That makes sense because I'm on a football show, so it's probably you're live before lock for MLB, and then I'll be hosting the. Thank God Gajeski is back. Last week I had to step into the analyst chair for preseason NFL. I was like, I've never played this before, doing my best with just reading around the industry, looking at Gajeski's projections. But you're better off in Matt's hands than mine because he actually has played this for years and really understands all the nuances of NFL preseason DFS. So check out Josh later on MLB live before. I don't think it'll actually go up to lock, but I'm not 100% sure on that. Come back for if you're playing some NFL tonight, me and Gajeski. Gajeski, you're in good hands with Gajeski as the analyst on that show tonight. Hit that like button if you haven't already done so. Thank you guys very much for watching, and good luck today.